guys, I've been with HomeAhead about 6 months, and prior to that I worked as a managing partner for another nonprofit, which actually started in Berkeley, California. But I'm really enjoying, I wanted, the nonprofit I was with before did a lot of conceptual work, and we in fact worked with Rotary a lot. So the
four-way test?
Yes, a four-way test is something I've seen before, and I've really admired it. But when I came to HomeAhead, I said I wanted something that was a little bit more hands-on, and I have gotten that, and then some. So I'm really grateful to be invited to be here today and tell you a little bit more about HomeAhead. And this is actually my first kind of presentation about HomeAhead, so you're my guinea pig, so any advice or feedback is certainly very welcome. So let's go to the next slide. And this tells you a little bit about our mission. And what we do is really pretty straightforward. We accept donated furniture and furnishings from people who don't have a use for them anymore. And we store them if we need to, and then we give them to people who do need them. And predominantly those people are folks who are transitioning out of homelessness. So they are on an upward path, and we're really delighted to be there and to help give them a boost. Next slide, please. So we have 4 values that we really feel strongly about at HomeAhead. And the first one is compassion. And that's we care about the unhoused, and we especially care about those who are in our own community. Collaboration is our next value, and we really can't do this alone. We need donors, we need volunteers, we need case managers that want to have us help their clients, and we're getting a lot of those, so there's no shortage right now. We need faith communities, civic clubs. We really need the community to help support the effort. Optimism, this I think is my favorite value. And with optimism, our feeling is that if somebody is unhoused and they get housing, and they can live in a comfortable place that feels safe to them, that feels like a sanctuary, that feels like a place that they can launch from, that they can be really successful, and that they can change the course of their life. And then lastly, stewardship. We care about the people that we serve, but we also care that we can save things from going into the landfill. I don't know about you, but I've got furniture and things that I don't use anymore, and it gives me a lot more satisfaction knowing that they can be reused, rather than just adding to the heaps of stuff that go in the landfill. Next slide, please. So our process is really quite simple. We collect donations and we store them if we need to. Then we collaborate with case managers and agencies, people from the shelters, people from human service agencies that are helping victims of domestic violence, helping people who are transitioning out of jail, helping families, helping elderly, helping people who are qualifying for Section 8 rental assistance vouchers. So we work with their case managers, and we help coordinate getting furnishings into the apartments that these people are soon going to reside in. Next slide, please. So this is kind of an overview. This is the big picture. These are some facts about homelessness, and I haven't worked in this realm before. It's something I've cared about, and I've noticed in my community and noticed more and more people out there that look like they are homeless, and I've seen it growing in my community, but I didn't really know many of the facts. So these are some statistics based on our country. 1/4 of the homeless are children. A little over half of those children are under 5. The fastest growing segment of people experiencing homelessness are families. They account for 40 to 50% of those who are homeless. 90% of homeless women are victims of extreme abuse. They become homeless because they are trying to escape the abuse, and they may often leave with themselves, their children, and nothing. and they are technically homeless. It doesn't matter if they came from a $600,000 house or they were living in subsidized apartments, they're homeless. 57,000 veterans are homeless, and the primary cause of homelessness is affordable housing. Next slide, please. So this is gonna bring it a little closer to home. Who are the homeless in our communities? We have, with HomeAhead, in our kind of direct sort of service, we've worked with homeless teenagers. We've worked with elderly, we've worked with a lot of families, we've worked with vets, we've worked with teachers, we've worked with a lot of folks who are disabled. We've been told that women over 55 are one of the fastest growing populations becoming homeless in our community. And according to EFA, we have about 1,000 homeless children in our area. And I want to tell you a little bit about some of the people that personally we interacted with through HomeAhead. First one is Thea. Thea was a lovely woman. She's in her 70s. She is widowed not too long ago, and she has dementia, which makes it really, really hard for her to have a stable living situation. Jay is a single father we're helping this week. He's got 4 children, and he worked for a long time in the Commerce City area, and he was involved in a job accident, and he's losing his vision. So his capacity to work and earn income and afford housing has been greatly compromised. Cynthia, I met last week, and she's celebrating her 20th birthday this week. Cynthia was in foster care, and as a 20-year-old, she's no longer eligible for foster care services. So she has to go out into the world, and she has to find a way to live and survive and support herself. Danny's a teenager whose mother is on the streets and whose father is in jail. He has an aunt who was kind enough to take him in, and my understanding is that she lives in a very teeny tiny apartment, and the best she can do is put a single twin bed in the living room for Danny. And other than that bed and the clothes on his back, that was all Danny had. Nellie I just met this week, and Nellie had a 30-year career as a teacher. Her area of focus was special education, and she is now homeless and living in a shelter. Carrie's another person I've gotten to know recently. She had a good job and a nice home until 2020. Then she got COVID. She was hospitalized, she was put on a ventilator, she was pronounced dead, and she was resuscitated. She has had a very long recovery. She lost her job, she lost her home, she lost her health for quite a while, and she also is living in a shelter right now. So these are some of the folks. They're not stories in the paper, they're folks that we're dealing with every day. Next slide, please. So why does having furniture matter? Well, I want you to imagine for a moment some place that you've lived. It could be where you live now, or maybe it was your college apartment, but just some place that you can think of in your mind. Now imagine that you're living there alone. You have no bed to sleep in. You have no couch. You have no table to eat at. You have no dishes, pots, or pans to prepare a meal. You have no towels. You have no place to really invite somebody to come over and spend time with you, and you're there alone. How long do you think you could be comfortable living in that sort of arrangement? Furniture is important because, and I'm going to read a few quotes from clients and case managers. It just feels like home in here. Now I can actually sit here and take a breath. The self-worth I feel, how healing this whole process has been. And from a few case managers, it's difficult to transition from living on the streets to living in an apartment. HomeAhead gives the best shot at being successful in housing. And by successful, they mean being stable, being able to stay in your house, being able to get that job, being able to reconnect with family. It's an invaluable, unique resource. It alleviates an immense burden. And then lastly, from the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, if you have a comfortable space, there's less of a need to rely on negative influences or to hang out with the wrong people. No other organization in the community provides this service. Next slide, please. So we have a few things to celebrate. So this picture is of Cynthia. I don't know if you can see it very well. Cynthia is the one who aged out of foster care that I met last week. And she's in that picture with her little brother. And you can't really tell, but she's got a magnificent smile. And that truck behind her is full of all the furniture that she picked out for her very first apartment. As my teenage son would say, for her venture adulting in the world now. She was so excited. She chose the biggest dining room table set that we have with 6 chairs. I thought, she's a single person. She's 19, 20 years old. She can't wait to cook for family and friends and to have them in her apartment and to celebrate her home with her. So to me, that's a real celebration. Some other celebrations. We've been around 3.5 years. Most nonprofits fail in the first 12 months. So we've not only failed, we've thrived, and we've grown, and we're continuing to grow. We have provided about $1 million worth of furnishings to more than 500 homes since we began. We know where we're going. We've joined the Furniture Bank of North America, and until I took this job, I didn't know there was such a thing. Furniture Bank of North America does what we do, and there's over 100 in North America, and there's some that are 30 years old that are operating on a $9 million budget. So there's a roadmap, and they formed a network, and we're now members, and there's people to guide us and tell us about best practices and things to avoid and how we can be more sustainable. And what we do is in high demand, otherwise we wouldn't still be in existence. And lastly, as mentioned before, we're able to prevent a lot of furniture from going into the landfill. So we consider that a celebration also. Next slide, please. So we have a rich history with HomeAhead. The inspiration came in 2018 when a woman visited a church in Boulder, and as she got to talk to other members of the church, she revealed that she was homeless and that she was about to get an apartment and that she had nothing to put in it. And the members of the church came in to offer donations and support her, and then she said there's a lot of other people who have this very same experience. And that was the inspiration for HomeAhead, which at that time was called Faith Furnishings. And as Joe and Lou talked about, some friends came together, and about 10 faith communities in the area came forward and helped out. And so in 2018, well, that was the inspiration. 2019, 95 apartments were furnished. In 2020, we had a little bit of a slowdown because of COVID, but still 91 apartments were furnished. In 2021, 175, so that's over 90% growth from one year to the next. This year, we're on track to finish at about 230 homes. And in 2023, we imagine we will be up to 260 homes for that year. So we have some challenges and opportunities. There's about 275 people just in the city of Boulder that transition out of homelessness every year. So that means they're getting homes. We help somewhere around 200, 230, 260. So just in the city of Boulder, we're not meeting the demand. And we work a lot outside of Boulder. We work in surrounding areas, we work frequently in Longmont, we've worked some in Erie, we've worked in a lot of communities. So as you can tell, there's a tremendous demand, and the numbers don't add up. We don't have the resources currently to respond. We know what we do matters. We know that we're making a big difference. And to grow, we've got to get better resourced. We've got to get more creative about resources, both financial and human. What we do requires a lot of work. There's a lot of moving parts, literally moving parts and moving furniture. And we started as an all-volunteer organization, so we've come a real long distance. And what we do is really much the same as it was when we first started. And now we're well poised to go to the next level, as Lou talked about. And I want to just take a quick moment on this next slide. Thank you. Just to acknowledge a lot of the help we've had to get to where we are now. And the Rotary has been a real friend to us, and we're grateful for that. We have other organizations listed here who also helped us. And some of the key faith communities that really launched us were Har Hashem in Boulder, Atonement Lutheran, and St. Andrew Presbyterian. We're almost done. Okay, next slide, please. We need more help. We've determined it costs us about $200 per home that we furnish. If you take that and multiply it out through the year, that's a cost of about $50,000 for us to collect furniture, to store it, to rent trucks, to transport it, to organize it, sort it. There's a lot of parts to this. We need both additional volunteers and financial resources as well. And I'd love to share a comment with you from a Boulder County Housing and Human Services case manager who says HomeAhead is literally life-changing for participants, a lifesaver for our agency support specialists and the families that they serve. And the last thing I want to do is I want you to think again of that place where you lived, that you imagined, with nothing but bare walls and empty rooms. And I want you to think about having a comfortable bed there where you can rest and sleep each night. I want you to think of having a sofa that you can sit on and you can have friends over and you can watch the football game or whatever it is you do. I want you to think of having a kitchen with dishes and plates and pots and pans, and you can actually prepare meals and sit at a kitchen table and enjoy that meal. This is what HomeAhead helps to create for people. We try to help those in our community who need it most by helping to make their place where they live into a home. And that's it. Does anybody have any questions?